Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Stamp and Chat. I am Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see all of you here from all over the country and all over the world. People coming in from everywhere this evening here in the Midwest. We have some fun planned for you tonight, and I'm just seeing so many people coming in already. Wow, really, people coming in pretty quick here. The numbers are like jumping all over the place. So welcome everyone. Tonight we have a really fun technique that I have to give credit to two people, because there's two people who helped me figure out what to do tonight. And the first one is my customer service rep and friend, Debbie Warner. And I think I saw her make a comment in the comments tonight. So Debbie, thank you so much for this idea. I can't wait to share it. And then another version of this same technique was shared with me by my friend Kathy Rakusin. When she sent me last Thursday's technique, she also sent me this one as another way to use vellum to do a drop shadow technique. So I'm going to show you both ways tonight, and you can decide what way you like better. So welcome everyone. I see everybody coming in. So I have to tell you, today we had a little bit of a laugh over in our group. You know, people are joining our Facebook group, and if you haven't joined our group, I encourage you to join it. It's called Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends. But when you join our group, and I think it's one of the most friendly groups on the whole Facebook platform. I really do. We are just one big loving bunch over there. But in order to get into the group, because it's a private group, you have to answer a couple of questions. And so one of the questions is, what's your favorite stamping technique? Now, if you happen to be a troll and you're trying to get into the group, today somebody answered the question, what is your favorite stamping technique? They answered, yes, bro. That's their answer. So if you answer yes, bro, to any of our questions, you're probably not going to get in. You're going to have to come up with a technique. We were laughing so hard at that. We've had 3 trolls try to get into our group, and every one of them answered the same thing. What's your favorite stamping technique? Yes, bro. So don't answer that. All right, so tonight's technique, we're going to use stencils, we're going to use some ink, and we're going to use some blending brushes. But if you don't want to use blending brushes on pigment ink, let me dig through my drawer here, because I think I have something. If you have one of these jumbo daubers, you can use this for pigment ink, which I'm going to do tonight. And some people don't like to get pigment ink on their blending brushes because it's really hard to get out. But if you want to buy one blending brush and have that set aside for your white pigment ink, that works too. So I think I'll use a sponge dauber. We do carry these on our website. They're super easy to use, and if you're going to use it, you never have to clean it. It's small. You can tuck it away. So we'll do that. So let me show you what we're going to use tonight. So here I have the Mandala Burst stencil. So I thought I would use this stencil, and then I also thought I would use this funky Flourish stencil. Stencil. You like that? Oh, by the way, it's not a stencil, it's a stencil. By the way, Tom is going to get a microphone. We've been playing with it all weekend, and he's going to get a microphone, and he's going to get a camera on his face. So when he's making his, what we call Tom-servations, they're like observations, but with a Tom K twist.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I need a microphone.
I know. Yeah, I think you need a microphone. You definitely need a microphone. You're starting to lose your voice screaming, trying to get people to hear you. So, but we want to get his face on the camera too, because you have to see his expressions because they're priceless. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to use this particular stencil is because this is one of our older stencils, and it doesn't have the name of the stencil anywhere, so you can't really tell which is the right side or which is the wrong side, which is kind of weird because there isn't a right side or a wrong side of stencils. There's just a side where the printing is, like on this one, and a side where there isn't printing. So you can use them either way depending on what you want to do. But because it's not marked, I'm gonna show you a little tip that Debbie told me about today, and I'm gonna share that with you. But let's start with this easier one. This is the Mandala Burst. People are saying, yes, bro, you need a microphone.
Hey, bro.
Hey, bro. Oh, we'll share that story someday. So you can see on our newer stencils, we have the name of the stencil, and then we also have Gina K Designs on the stencil. So that way, you know that's the bottom of the stencil or the top, whatever side you want to use, but you want to make sure that you're using the same side for both parts of this ink blending technique. Now let's start with a small piece of cardstock, and we're going to use some craft cardstock. So this is going to be hard to see. Why did I do this? It's going to be nuts. Let me get a different color cardstock for underneath here. Here is some innocent pink, and there. Now you're going to be able to see that craft cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this one up more in the center. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of look at these sides over here and make sure that they're fairly even, and then I'm going to just move it down a little bit until it looks fairly even. All right, and again, I'm eyeballing it, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's nice when it is somewhat centered. All righty, so once I get it where I think I want it, I'm going to flip it over. And make sure it looks just a little straighter. There we go. And then I'm going to use a little purple tape to tack it down. Boy, we've been playing with a lot of stencils this week. Stencils are a hot, fun item, and everybody has lots and lots of new stencils and old stencils and blending brushes now. So this will be very fun and another way to use your products, which is always really fun. No, I'm sorry, we don't have a new release tonight. Our next release is at the end of the month, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you'll wait till the end of the video tonight, because I do have something special to share with you that is going up on our website, and I don't want you to miss out on it just in case you want to be part of it. So stay to the end if you can. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of white pigment ink for this. You know, I'm wondering, is Facebook working? I see some of our friends from Facebook, but I heard that it was going in and out in certain areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking this sponge dauber and I'm just twisting it lightly on a white pigment pad. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to dab some ink through here. I'm just pressing the ink into this stencil. Now, pigment ink is kind of a wet ink. We all know that, right? It's kind of a thick, opaque ink, so you can do it on dark colors, which is cool. Our white ink is really beautiful, too, for stamping. You can also use embossing powder over it. If you want to use it as an embossing ink, you can do clear embossing over it. And that's kind of nice because it definitely gives a more rustic look than white embossing powder. So if you're looking for something a little more rustic, white pigment ink, you can't go wrong with it. And I really love how bright our white pigment ink is. So I'm just pressing this through. Okay. And the reason why I'm not rubbing back and forth is because of the thickness of the ink. It's easy for the sponge dauber or your blending brush to get kind of caught on the stencil and kind of like squish the sponge and push ink underneath. So by going straight up and down and just pressing the ink in there, you're less likely to have those little pools of white pigment ink. Okay. Now I'm going to take this stencil off. You can see how nice and inky that is. And I like this stencil, this mandala. This is called the Mandala Burst stencil. I like it because you could use it for Christmas because it could kind of look like a snowflake maybe, but it's also great for any time of the year because it's like a big mandala or a big flower, kaleidoscope kind of thing. So you can use it with bright colors and fun colors. Is there a certain white ink that works? I really don't know much about them. Just any white ink will do. It should be a pigment ink. So if you don't have one, we also sell our pigment ink in a little cube. So if you just want to try it for this, actually with the cube, you could almost press the cube straight onto the stencil. So that's another idea. I do have a mat under here that can be cleaned up, and I know it pains you to see me waste good cardstock, but the contrast of the cardstock with the whatever project I'm working on really does help to see it a little better. Now I'm going to show you how I clean a stencil like this, because I do have to clean it before I use it for my next round. So I just have some water here that has a little dish detergent in it, and I have just a kitchen sponge. I'm going to put my stencil in here, and I'm just going to rub the sponge all over the stencil. This is much easier to do in your sink at home, but that just gets all that pigment ink off of there really easily. And then I'm going to take some paper towels here, and I'm going to just dry off the stencil. And that gets rid of all that pigment ink. See, it's nice and clean, just like new. Okay. And you can do this. I mean, I'm using this Mandala Burst stencil tonight just because I thought it was a fun one to use, but you can use any stencil you want. I am going to tell you a little trick in a little bit, though, about using a stencil that isn't symmetrical, because we, you know, our last technique, we used 2 different stencils, so it didn't matter. But with this technique, at least the second half of the technique, you are going to need a stencil that is symmetrical, or you're going to have to do this trick. Okay, so now we're going to add this stencil back on here again. All right. But we're going to shift it a little bit. So this is going to create the look of a drop shadow. So we're shifting it. You can almost see that it looks like a drop shadow now. See how it gets real dark in certain spots? And what I love about the way this looks when it's all done is it looks very much like it's been embossed with an embossing folder. It almost looks like you could reach out and touch it and feel the texture. So I just placed that back onto the same purple tape. Now, what you're going to want to do is, before you do that with pigment ink, because it takes forever to dry, you can use your heat tool and you can dry it a little bit if you're in a hurry. Otherwise, do a bunch of different stencils in the white pigment ink and just let them dry overnight, and then do the second half during your next crafting session. It doesn't take overnight, but of course, you know, yes, Dorothy, I see Dorothy's question. She wants to know if there's any way to get rid of the comments. I'm on an iPhone, if anyone knows how. I think if you swipe to the right, the comments will go away. Not 100% sure. If that doesn't work, swipe to the left. But I think you can remove the comments by just swiping them away. And I did that one time during a live. Oh, and there's also an X. Here, let me show them that, Tom. Can I show them your phone for a sec? Okay, so go to the front shot. Oh, no, I'll do it right here. See right here, there's a little X. And if you X out, what if I X out and you can't see them? Oh, you can see them on the screen. You can X out like that and they'll go away. But that's on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, I think you either swipe to the right or swipe to the left. If somebody knows something different, please let them know. Okay. So, like I said, this takes a little while to dry, not a full night, but, you know, you can hurry the process by heat setting it a little bit. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to go back over this again. I do want to make sure I don't have any ink on here. Okay. There we go. And again, you're going to place that, just find the center, and then just put it up and to the left a little bit, just so that you can start to see some of the craft cardstock showing through. And this technique you definitely should do on like a craft cardstock or sandy beach or maybe a soft gray, just because you want the white to show. So you don't want to do it on white cardstock. Now, if you are doing it with a different color, you don't have to use white ink. You could use a soft gray or something like that. Then you can do it on white. but it will change your top color a little bit. White will not change your top color. Okay, so we've got that placed. We shifted it over and up just a little bit, over and up. And now I'm going to get some Turquoise Sea ink because I never use turquoise, right? Seems like the only color I ever use. And then I'm going to use my turquoise blending brush, and I'm going to use some of the Turquoise Sea ink, and I'm going to ink up this brush really well. Well, you turn your phone horizontally and they disappear, the comments? Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Okay, now I am going to put a little pressure on the front of the stencil. I'm going to get some white ink on me, but that's okay. And I'm going to just start in the center, and I'm going to add that turquoise. Okay, getting a lot of mileage here out of this one brush full of turquoise. And I'm going to move my hand and go over here. Now I'm going to get a little bit more Turquoise Sea ink on here, and I'm going to give it a second coat just to deepen up the color. Now, I would definitely make sure that it's completely dry, or almost completely dry before you get started doing this, because you will get some white ink on your blending brush. If you can see, I got a little bit because I'm not being patient, because I don't have an hour and a half, 2 hours to let it dry. But that's okay. I don't mind that because I can keep this brush for just that purpose. Alrighty, so now we're going to take this off, and you're going to see this very, very cool look. I love the way this looks. Look. Isn't that pretty? How you see those white edges? Okay. Well, welcome, welcome, Helen. It's great to see you. I'm glad that you're a new card maker. Welcome to our crazy hobby, and we're so glad to have you here. So you can see now, doesn't it feel like you could actually reach out and touch that, and it would feel like it was embossed with an embossing folder? I just love the way that looks. So that is a technique, compliments of Debbie Warner. And we'll probably turn this into a card, but let's see what we do with the next one first. We're going to let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll go back and see how much time we have. And again, if you missed it, I'm going to do it real quick here just to clean this stencil up. I just have some water, usually in my kitchen sink. I put my stencil in there with a sponge and a little bit of soap, and the stencil comes out super clean, super fast, even with the pigment ink. I also wash my stencils when I use Versamark ink the same exact way. And I know I promised you guys a video on how I clean things. So I've been trying to work that in, but it's such a hard video for me to make because it's hard for me not to show you guys a new technique. But maybe we'll do that. We'll just do a video on how to clean everything. And you'll know the right way to take care of everything, including your MISTI, your acrylic blocks, your blending brushes, all of that. So I keep my stencils in these stencil pockets that we carry at Gina K Designs. It's a neat way. I use little labels from a label maker, and they store just like my stamps and my dies and my other products. So I like that. Okay, so now let's do a different one, and we'll do it a different way. So I'm going to do this one with the Funky Flourish stencil. Now, as I was saying before, the Funky Flourish stencil doesn't really have a way for you to see what side you're working on and where the bottom is. So what Debbie recommended was to take a Sharpie and just put a little X up in the corner. Now, if you don't like that X up in the corner when you're all done, it's really easy to get rid of it. You can usually get rid of it even with a little bit of hand sanitizer because Sharpies are alcohol, so you usually can just wipe it right off with hand sanitizer like that, or a little bit of rubbing alcohol. So that's a way to mark up your stencils and then clean them off afterwards if you don't like them marked up. Okay, that should dry pretty quick because it's alcohol. Okay. And everybody should have hand sanitizer around right now, right? So it makes a really good blending and fun technique thing for alcohol markers. Yes, I wash the stencils exactly the same way after using stencil paste or glitz glitter gel or anything. So you can also put a dot at the top if you want. All right, so I'm going to line this stencil up right here. And I'm going to keep this up at the top left-hand corner. And then I'm going to tape it down on the back so nothing bothers it. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I see you guys all coming in. It's probably dinner time in a lot of places. So thank you for taking time away from your family to spend some time with me. I'm going to use this same side here. Okay, so now I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to use this white sponge dauber with the Gina K Designs white pigment ink. And just so you guys know, we also have an ivory pigment ink. The ivory pigment ink is really good if you're using ivory cardstock as your back piece of cardstock and you want to stamp snowflakes in ivory. It really does make a difference if you see them side by side, because the white is really white and the ivory is a true ivory. Okay, so I am pressing some color in here. And again, like I said earlier, the reason why I'm pressing and not rubbing, first of all, when you have a stencil like this that has these little flappy ends, if you rub this way, you're going to lift the flappy ends and bend the stencil. And it's not that it can't be bent back, but you're going to get ink under there. And we're really trying to avoid getting ink in places that we don't want it. Okay. Here we go. So I like doing this with the white on craft. For some reason, craft is just my favorite look with this, but you can use other colors. I have tried this with our soft stone. Looks really nice with soft stone. Looks really nice with sandy beach, but craft seems to just, with the white, seems to really, really be vibrant.
I think you should explain why you're using a dauber.
Okay, so I'm using a dauber because I don't want to get white pigment ink on my blending brush. And also, you can use a blending brush, but when you're rubbing a blending brush back and forth, sometimes with pigment ink, because it's a thicker, juicier kind of ink, the bristles will slide underneath and move the stencil around, and you get this little pool of juicy ink in spots. And I like to try to avoid that. So by using something like this, it allows me to not have that problem of pooling ink. I'm just going to wash my fingers on that sponge. Yeah, this ink comes off really fast too. You can see I got it right off my hand just by sticking my hand in that water and swishing it around. Okay, so I am going to have to clean this before I do my next step. So I'm going to take this off. You can see what that looks like. You can still see some of the ink got a little blotchy in spots, but that's okay. It's still going to look really good. So I'm going to move this, and I'm going to get my bowl of water again, and I'm going to clean this very, very inky stencil off. And I'm being a little bit gentle with this one because it does have those flappy parts of the stencil. And a lot of the more intricate stencils do have that. I know some of Tim Holtz's stencils have that. They're beautiful stencils though. They really, really make gorgeous cards. So, you know, they're worth it. Okay.
Diane wants to know, could you please place another piece of cardstock on top to transfer the design?
Oh, you might be able to. I haven't tried that. You know, when I say it's still wet, it's not super wet, so I don't know how much would transfer, but it's certainly worth giving it a try. Okay, it's a good idea. All right, so now we're going to do this one using the vellum. So remember, when you're using the vellum, you're going to flip the stencil over, right? Because you're going to stencil on the vellum and then flip it back over, if that makes sense. So you want the design to be the same. So here's how I'm going to place my vellum. I'm going to lay the stencil back here, right over the spots that I just inked. Then I'm going to lay the vellum paper right on top gently. I'm not going to press because I don't want to press it into the pigment ink. And then I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to tape it down onto the stencil. Here we go. I don't know. We don't know what happened, but the broadcast just disappeared for a second. So hope you guys are seeing me again. Let us know if you see me again. I know people are saying, uh-oh, but it's a little bit of a delay. So let's see.
It's back
okay. All right. So Tom said that I'm back and you guys are saying that we're back. So we're back. Sorry about that. We don't know what happened, but we're glad to be back. Okay. So you can see this a little better since this is so light. I know you guys don't like when I do this, but I'm going to use the craft cardstock underneath. So for this one, I'm going to use some wild lilac. I know Facebook's acting up, YouTube, everything's going on. I think that was more of a glitch of our software and not you guys, because I think everybody got lost. Now I'm going to use wild lilac for this. So I'm going to ink up my blending brush. And then on this vellum cardstock, you can see my black dot is now on the other side, right? I hope this is right. I hope I did it right. It's always more fun when I don't do it right, though, isn't it? I swear tonight I was not reading the cowboy book. I'm not going to swear that I wasn't reading it last night, though. See, Tom, we need to get you on microphone. People are saying that they can't necessarily hear your comments if you're making them. All right. So there we go. I've got that purple on there. Now let's see if this is going to work. Oh, I just love the way this looks on vellum. Look how pretty that is on vellum. Vellum is like my new thing. I can't seem to get enough vellum these days. Okay. There we go. Now this should work. So what you want to do is, because this ink is going to stay, I don't know, it's not wet, but even if we dry it, there's always that chance that it could transfer a little bit. And remember, this is just a dye ink, so it could transfer just a hair. And the pigment ink could still be a little bit wet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it ink side down onto that pigment ink side up, if that makes sense. That's why we did the stencil in the reverse side, so that the two layers would match. And let's hope they do. Oh, they do. Okay. So now here's where we do the drop shadow magic on this style. So you have to tell me which style you like better. Do you like the vellum look, or do you like the pigment ink? I mean, the inking right on the cardstock look. They look different from each other, but they're both really pretty and really fun. So you should try it both ways and see which one you actually prefer making too. Alrighty, so here we go. I'm going to try to pick this up. I'm struggling over here off to the side. All right, so when we lay this on top, now we can angle it a little bit. Look how cool. We don't want to do it too much. We just want to do it enough that we can see the white shining through. Isn't that pretty? Doesn't it look like it has so much depth? I know, I like the vellum too. It's so fun. And especially now, because probably a lot of you who didn't have vellum after Thursday's video decided to get some. This is just another technique for your vellum, so it's very fun. I like that. Let's go with that. Okay. So now I'm going to show you another little technique here on how I like to hide. I showed you before how to hide the vellum by doing a frame. I'm going to show you how to do it a little bit differently this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little strip of tape down the side here, and I'm going to put a little strip of tape down the side here. Okay. I'm actually going to put some over here too, and over here too, but we're going to trim this down a little bit, so those won't matter as much. All right. I probably should have put my tape down first, but it's all right. Now we're going to find the spot that we want to. There we go. That looks pretty good. Like that. Okay. Moving it. I'm being really quiet because I'm thinking, which I usually don't do a lot of. Okay, so there we go. Doesn't that have a lot of depth and cool kind of feel to it? All that, seeing that white underneath, it almost looks carved out, doesn't it? I love it. Okay. So now the tape runner that I'm using tonight is just this little ThermoWeb tape runner. They don't even make this anymore. My normal tape runner is this one, the Gina K Designs tape runner. But as you can see, I have no tape runner left. I've used every little bit of it. And I have my other one in work because I've been working on cards. I've been hiding in my office and working on cards when I should be working on other things, so don't tell anybody. Okay, so now I'm just going to trim around the perimeter here just to trim it up a little bit. I'm going to take under 1/8 of an inch off just to clean it up. I'm going to do the same thing over here, under 1/8 of an inch, just on the bottom. Then we're going to take this down to, I could go to 3.5, I guess. 3.5. I don't want to cut off too much tape. 3.5, and then by 4 3/4. I'm going to actually take less off of this side and go back and take a little more off the other side to get it down to 4 3/4. So 3.5 by 4 3/4. Okay. Now you can still, if you're looking at this in person, you can still see a little bit of the tape around the perimeter. But what we're going to do is we're going to cover that with a border. So let's turn this one into a card, because I know this card's taking a while, but it's technique-y, and I want to make sure that you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to get my Spellbinders die cutting machine, and I'm going to cut out a few different things. So let me back out a little bit. Here we go. Okay. And if I don't get both cards made tonight, that's okay. This is more about learning this technique. Hey, you know what I did? I actually tried the technique of putting my plates into the dishwasher, and they flattened out a little bit for me, and all of those little specks of cardstock came out. So that was really cool. So I wanted to show you guys that. Okay. So I think this is our border trio. Is that what it's called? I don't know if that's what it's called or not, but I think I'm going to use this one with the tiny little hearts. If somebody knows what the name of this is, please let me know. I think it's called Border Trio. And I'm going to cut this out, but I'm going to leave a little bit extra. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I want to leave a little bit extra because I need room to stamp my greeting. So I guess what I could do here is put my greeting where I want it. Let's see. What should we use? Have a blooming good birthday or you make my heart bloom? Let's use you make my heart bloom. So if you want to be absolutely sure that this is going to fit, you can put that there, and then you can mark up about about here somewhere. That's where you need at least that much space for your greeting. I just put a tiny little dot over there. And that will tell me where I can put my die. I'm going to put my die just about here, because I can stamp all the way up to that part then. Okay. So let's see how this looks. Again, you guys know that I wing it every night, every day here for you guys. So I never know if this is really going to work the way I want it to. And if it doesn't, you know what I do. I just toss the piece of cardstock and keep going.
Fancy borders.
Fancy borders, is that what it's called?
I think so.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Penny. Okay, I had to put a thing on there because it wasn't staying. Thank you, Penny. Fancy borders. Yeah, we don't have tons of border stamps in our collection. So it is our only, we have a fence border stamp that's really cool, but not a whole lot of border stamps. Oh no, that cut the bottom. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, you know what? We're going to go with it. We're going to go with it anyway. I didn't realize it cut the bottom. See? That's because I don't use these enough. If I used these enough, I would have known it. We're going to go with it anyway. Oh, I love this die. It's so pretty. But that didn't, you know what I did? Another thing that I did, guys, I'm going to redo this. So remember when I told you with intricate dies, it's better to cut on the edge? I didn't cut on the edge. And so it struggled cutting out for me. So we're going to cut off on the edge, die side, blade side up, cardstock on top. Now look at the difference when I cut it this way. I'm telling you, there's something weird about all die cutting machines, and why this works, I will never, ever know. Okay, so check this out. You saw me cut more in the middle, right? And look what happened. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see these at all, but these hearts didn't cut out. But when I flipped it upside down, look, all the hearts are perfectly cut out. So if you have any intricate dies in your collection that you're having trouble with, just flip it upside down. Blade side up and off to one side of your die cutting machine, and it will work like a charm. Look at this. Look, beautiful. And this other one didn't even cut. All right. Now we're going to put this right on the edge, covering up that little bit of mess. So that's how we're going to do that. Okay. So now I got to poke all these out real quick. So what can we talk about? The cowboy? No. We can talk about how much I love our Facebook group and our YouTube community and how thankful I am for all of you. And I have a little quote tonight that talks about us and what we love to do and why we should do it. So I hope you will stay tuned for my quote at the end and my special little reveal of something that I think is very fun. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing again because I want to do a border down each side. So again, blade side up. I need you guys to keep track of me because I am apparently not able to keep track of myself. You guys need to yell, "You're doing it wrong," and I will pay attention because I trust you more than I trust myself. Donna, that's a great idea. Did you see what Donna said? Save all those little hearts and they can be used for inside a shaker card. That's a really cute idea. You can also use them on top of die cuts, words that have the letter I in them. You can use those to dot the I. So yeah, just get a little bowl and scoop them in. Okay, there we go. And there's my second one. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. And then I want to cut a word out here. So this is a stamp set that I do not give a lot of love to, and I want to give more love to. It is, we have some big word stamps that I barely use, and I think that release went by really fast, and then we started releasing other words, and I never really got a chance to do a lot in videos with these words. So I want to show you. These are, we have 4 of these. We have this gigantic friend. We have this big hello. We also have a love and a you. And they're really fun because you can mix and match these. Like we have another hello. We have another friend die. And we've got words that coordinate with those. So you can mix and match the upright style, the plain style, with the more scripty style words that go underneath. So let's cut these out. Should we do them in white? Do you think white letters would look good over the vellum? I think it would. Let's try it. I'll also cut them in black just to be sure. Okay, so we're going to use, where'd my little stamp set go? We were going to use the sentiment, you make my heart bloom. So should we say, hello, you make my heart bloom, or friend, you make my heart bloom? Let me hear what you guys think. So go ahead and make your comments. Friend or hello, which one should I use? I feel like we're going to, they're answering in colors. I see black and gray. Come on, that's like answering yes, bro. What's your favorite stamping technique? What are you guys doing? I'm putting these in here. I know I should have kept them, but okay, friend. Is friend winning? I think friend might be winning. All right, friend is winning. All right, we're gonna do friend. I'll try to whip up another card later using the hello one with this same technique. And I'm going to try this on white to see how it looks. But if it doesn't look good, I think I might have to go with black because I really want it to stand out. And of course, if you want to be really fancy, you could do a drop shadow with the words. And you can have, you know, friend in white, and then have the drop shadow in black behind it with the other friend. And that would look cool too. Okay, so F-R-I-E-N-D. I think this E is upside down. And the D is upside down. You can tell with dies if they're upside down because there's a little curve toward the bottom when you cut with a die. So let's see. Let's just lay it out here real quick and see if we like the way the white looks. Does it stand out enough? You guys like that in white, or should we go with black? Let's go with white. Let's just make it all really sweet and special. Although I'm going to cut it in black just to be safe. So let me get some black cardstock here and we'll cut it one more time. All right, so I've got some black here. Going to do the same thing, put that die on the edge. White is a nice contrast, that's true. White stands out. Okay, too harsh, black is too harsh. You know, I thought black would be too harsh, but seriously, look at this card that we made the other day. Birthday's the only black, and does that black really stand out? So, you know, we got to just at least look at it. We got to look at it because sometimes you think black will be too harsh, and I agree. But then you see it, and you're like, nah, I kind of like it. It stands out, and I can see it. So I'm going to cut these out. Push, push. Our dies cut really nicely. If you guys haven't tried our dies yet, you have to try them because they really, really cut out really nicely. And here's what I'm talking about doing the drop shadow thing, okay? So you would line these up, and this is going to be hard to do on top of a die cutting machine, but you can see the black really stands out. But you could line those up in such a way that you would have a tiny little shadow edge of the black showing. Kind of the same way you have a tiny little edge like that. See how that looks? Well, you guys get the idea. So we could mix them. So let's see, once we get the card laid out, we'll see how it all looks. All right, I'm getting this out of the way. That sounded so whiny. Like I'm weak. Out of the way. Okay. Here we go. Back to this again. Alrighty. You like the drop shadow? Okay. All right, so here's where we're going to cover up our little edges, and we want to make sure that we place these pretty close to the same spot. Ooh, got a lot of sticky stuff on this side. We'll go to this side. So I'm going to put tape on this border on the back, right along the edge, like that. And then I'm going to center it the best that I can. So that's not centered. Just looking at it, I'm going to center it the best that I can. That's pretty good. Pretty good right there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Here we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, trying to center it to match this one. Can actually probably see it just a little bit better from the other side, but this is totally covering any tape that you would see, and I like that. Okay, that looks pretty close. You could probably just put it right near Misty and just, let's do that. That's a pretty good trick. Or anything with an angle. You could use your score buddy. So you put this up against your score buddy like that, and then you put your border up. Oh, come on, guys. Look how easy this is, right? You measure, that's going to be exactly right. Look at that. Okay, that's cool. That's very cool. You guys like that little trick? You gotta like that. That was cool. Okay, so there we go. So that covers up that area there. And this is going to, we're going to just trim off that excess. Okay, so now, that was a nice trick that just popped into my brain. Love that. Okay, we're going to cut that like that. And then we're going to cut it the same way on the other side. There we go. Okay, so now we have that cute little, oh, that's so cute, isn't it? I love that. I really like that. Okay. Now I have to look at it under black. You know I do. Just have to see what black would look like. Oh yeah, look at how pretty that would look. Doesn't that make everything pop? You have to admit it. It makes things pop. All right, we're going to add the black. And then we're going to use the black friends. And you guys are going to stick with me on this. Okay, so this is just a 1/4 sheet of cardstock. We don't have to, we can cut it down to like right along the edge there, but I'm scared to do that. So I'm going to actually measure this and just cut this black down to be almost even with it. So this is about 4 1/8. So I'm going to cut, well, it is 4 1/4. I'm going to make it just a little bit over 4 1/8. Okay. And then that's going to go right there just to give me that pop that I'm looking for. Yeah, it's nice with the black. I think it makes the whole thing, doesn't that look carved? It makes the whole thing look really cool. I know I already said that, but just in case you missed me saying that, I wanted you to agree and enjoy that moment with me. Okay. So I'm going to do this over here, right along the edge, because it doesn't really matter, because we're going to end up cutting a little more off. Okay. Does that look pretty even? Not really. Ugh. I think I might be able to see it better if I do it this way. I'll do it this way. Is my head in the way? It's a little in the way. I did a deep conditioning treatment the other night, and now I feel like I have 5 hairs on my head. My hair is so flat. Who knew that damaged hair actually feels like nice, thick, full hair? I need my damaged hair back. Okay, so now we're going to I think this whole thing is going to go on a white card base. I changed my mind. I initially was planning to put it on a purple card base, but I think now with this black in here and all, it's going to definitely have to go on a tall card base. And you'll see what I'm doing in just a second. All right. So now we're going to go to the 5.5 inch mark on this, and we're going to make a tent fold card. One of the reasons I make cards this way a lot is because when you give it to somebody, they can stand it up so nicely on their mantle at home or wherever they want. All right, so now we're going to put this across here. And we're going to try to line it up so that it looks pretty even on both sides. Whew, this is a lot of cutting, but I'm ready for it. This might be one of my favorite cards I ever made. And we got to leave room at the bottom for that greeting. Remember that. We got to leave room at the bottom. So we're going to do it right about there. That leaves room. Let's check it. I got pieces of my die cut up here. You make my heart bloom. Yeah, that gives us room down there to do that. Okay. There we go. Now, we're going to take, I'm going to get my jumbo cutter out because this calls for the big guns. I'm going to cut this, all this right off. Like that. The same on the other side. Probably should have opened that up because it's wrinkling my vellum a little bit, but that's okay. All right. So you got that? Okay. Now it's time to add our greeting at the bottom here. I did crinkle my vellum. So if you do that, open your card this way and get rid of some of the layers so you don't cut it as much. You know, you don't have as thick to cut, and then you won't get the crinkling. All right, we're going to use the Misty to stamp the greeting on this because I definitely don't trust myself at this point with all this work into this card. Okay. You make my heart bloom is what we're going to use down here at the bottom. And we're going to stamp it in black onyx. I really like this style. I might redo it so that this isn't like this, and then I'll post a picture. We'll see. It won't take long to redo it. Now that I know what I'm going to do, what takes me so long is not knowing what I'm doing. These cards are actually not that hard to make. We haven't lost our screen anymore, have we, Tom?
No.
Good. Okay. Did that move?
Just our minds.
Just our minds is exactly right. Okay. I'm going to ink it again. I'm going to use my little cube for this. There we go. Let's get it a little darker. Okay, and now we're going to add the word friend. So an easy way to figure out how to place your letters is to just use your paper cutter and cut along the bottom edge of the letters. Let's see if that's straight. That's straight enough. And you can kind of line them up where you want them, like that. Okay. And then you can either use tape or you can use Connect glue if you want. And you're going to just drop them into the holes as you tape them down. So I think I'm going to use Connect glue though, because I think that's going to be a little bit easier to control. So we'll just add a little bit of glue. There we go. You don't need a lot of glue, just a little bit here. Okay, and I'm going to drop that in the hole. All right, where's my R? It pushed everything out of the way, and now I don't know where it is. I'm not even sure if this is centered, but I think it probably is. Looks pretty centered. Centered enough. How's that? There. F-R-I. So I have to, I'm excited to tell you guys about this thing that I have on my mind here. It's a little putsy, but not too bad. But I like using the part that we cut out as the guide to know how to space the letters, because that's always the hard thing for me. I mean, unless I'm doing some kind of fancy little twisty thing going across, spacing out the letters is always the hardest thing for me, making them look even. I think in the graphic design world, that's called kerning. That's what you told me, right, Tom? Kerning?
Are we settled into our new building?
We are getting there. We're getting pretty close. Our warehouse is still a mess. And that's our fault because we've been so busy. We haven't had time to set up all the shelving. But our picking and shipping area is cranking. And our assembly, our staff is so amazing. A big shout out to our staff. I don't know what I'd do without them. They're amazing.
I didn't know it would include a bird sanctuary.
Oh, because birds fly in?
We got birds.
We've got birds everywhere. I know.
Geese.
One got in. Geese? We have geese? I didn't see the geese. Okay, so I'm going to just be careful as I pull this up to make sure that I don't pull the letters up. Just keep pressing them. There we go. And that helps you keep your letters nice and straight. So what do you guys think? This vellum, let me see if I have that written down somewhere. I think it is 24 pound. So it's pretty light. It's like really super thin paper. You can see it's not like cardstock. So what do you guys think of this card? Do you like it? Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys like it. I like it. I think this is like one of my most favorite styles that I did. It's a little crooked up here, so it's got a lot of things wrong with it, but it's a great starter card for this technique where you can go back and make lots of them and know what you're doing and take a little bit more time to make everything a little bit straighter. So I might go back and adjust things a little bit before I post the picture so you guys can have a good card to, you know, right click on and save to your library of cards for ideas. So there's my final card. All right, so let's go to my front shot here. I do have a quote tonight that I found for you guys. And also I want to tell you about something that is now available on our website. We just made it go live. Debbie has been watching and she made it go live. We have something called a mystery box. When we closed our Village Paper and Ink retail store, we had lots of stuff in our retail store and really pretty stuff. 12 by 12 pattern papers and glitters and embellishments and stamp sets from other companies, stencils from other companies, distress inks, oxide inks, all kinds of things that we don't carry in our online store. So rather than just, you know, I don't know, just trying to find a source to dump it like a, you know, one of those clearance places, we decided that we would make mystery boxes. So we have mystery boxes listed on our website now that have a variety of fun things for you, that each mystery box is valued at around $250 and the boxes are $65. So if you just are in the mood for a really fun surprise where you don't know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be high quality stuff, beautiful pattern papers, and all kinds of other fun stamping supplies, they are available in the What's New category. We don't have a ton of them, but they're available while supplies last. So if you want to grab one and you want to treat yourself to something really fun, you're going to get a lot of really fun stuff. I actually was going to open one here on the live, but I thought that's so deceptive because every box is different. And if you see the box that I open and you think you're going to get that and then you get different things, you might be disappointed. Even though if you didn't see my box, you wouldn't be disappointed at all because every box is totally amazing. A lot of our girls that worked Upstairs, they did a lot of work together to make sure that the boxes had a really fun variety of things. And they even made sure that if there were things like ephemera that matched pattern paper, that they tried to stick the pattern papers and the ephemeras that matched together so that you'd have a little bit more of a collection of things. So it's really exciting. If you want to pick one up, they're $65. Yeah, it only ships to the US because they're super, super heavy. And so we're only shipping to the US, and we don't have a ton of them. There's just a handful of them. So I just want to let you know. So I wanted to tell you our quote for tonight. Hopefully we can do something fun internationally that isn't so heavy in the future. We'll try to do another type of mystery box in the future, maybe a mystery envelope that we can send out some fun pattern papers and things like that. We'll look into that because we hate to leave anybody out, but they are super, super heavy. So without the benefit of, you know, cheaper priority mail, it makes it really not cost effective for us to do it. And just as an example, so you guys know that I'm not kidding around, one of the reasons why we aren't able to ship our cardstock overseas anymore is because it used to be that if somebody from Europe or Australia ordered 4 packs of cardstock, it would cost us like $52 in shipping, even though we had a flat rate of $15.95 to ship it to them. So it became upside down for us, and it just didn't work. So that's why we're not able to ship these mystery boxes. And I really apologize. I wish there was a better way. I wish we were all connected by tunnels and all our stamp rooms were connected too. I just wish we were all together. But this is just one of those things. So I appreciate your understanding. All right. So I do have a quote for you guys tonight. I love you all so very much. And I just want to remind you, do what makes you happy. Be with those that make you smile. Laugh as much as you breathe. And love as long as you live. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be back on Thursday for a lunchtime live. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.